Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Credit. I'm J.S. Waldo, and I'm here with Mr. John Mackey. Welcome back, Mr. Mackey.
Thank you very much, and please call me something else other than Mister. Um,
I will, John. I'm just messing with
I
you.
know, I know. You know, when I was in the military, I was dating this one girl, and she used to call me Sir when we were first dating. And I said, "Don't call me Sir, call me John." I said I work for a living. That was a joke, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, today we're going to dive right in. Um, I was thinking about our last conversation we had, and I want to go back to a topic that I think we need to talk about a little bit more in depth
Okay.
for our audience. I want to talk about the credit score, but I'm going to ask you some very specific questions about it that I think we all need to grasp and wrap our head around. So today I would like to start with you explaining what drives a credit score. What makes that credit score?
Well, there's a variety of things. There's typically what they like to talk about are five of them. What drives a score up or down is activity or lack thereof. In other words, you didn't make a payment. The first one is the payment history. And payment history is how often do you make your payments on time? Now, that begs the question, what is on time? On time specifically means anything up to, everything has to be paid within a 30-day window. So once it's due, let's say it's June 1st, and you make the payment on June 28th, that's still considered for credit score purposes a an on-time payment. If you make the payment on using that same example, June 1st, and you make the payment July 2nd, now we're talking about a 30-day late. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
what does that do? For a person, and I think I mentioned in one of the other podcasts we've done that uh, uh, if you're late and you have a higher score, let's say 800, go on vacation and you forgot about it and you come back and it's been 30 days and you've got, normally you've got a great history behind you. You've got over an 800 score. How much is that going to affect your score? It's going to affect it by usually 100 to 125 points. Well,
Wow.
that's all factoring in all the other things. So if you had a score of 580, you're not going to go down 125 points. You may go down 40 to 60 points. Okay. So
Mhm.
it's going, you're going to have a tougher time with a score drop or a larger score drop if your score is better at
Interesting.
start.
Hmm.
Now you've got other things that we won't get into depth now, but like 30-day rolling lates, that's where every month you're 30-day late, or a rolling 60, or it goes 30 and 60 and 90 days. On a credit report, if it's showing 120 days or longer, it's considered, if it were a house, it's automatically considered as in foreclosure, even though you may not have received foreclosure payment or documentation. They're going to say, for credit scoring purposes, it's in foreclosure. Now, the next one, and it accounts for 30%, and that is the amount that you owe on credit cards. Now, there's two factors here. One is if you have multiple credit cards, they're going to take a look at the total amount of debt you have versus the total amount that you owe. And they're going to create a ratio of that.
And that's called utilization,
for
correct?
credit utilization.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also going to do it um, trade line by trade line. So each one of those 5 credit cards, in my example, you're going to they're going to evaluate those separately also. So both of those affect. Now,
Okay.
it's the easiest one for us as individuals to fix ourselves currently. In other words, right before you put in a home loan or you want to get a home loan and to raise your score, you pay off all that prior debt. And they're going to take a look at what is the current snapshot right now.
Mm-hmm.
The new FICO 10T is not going to allow you to do that. They're going to take a snapshot of a 2-year period, 24-month period, and see what your average is over that. So don't think you're going to get away with paying it off at the very end and your score is going to jump. Your score will jump, but not as much.
That's interesting news.
And there's going to be a huge difference in the way loans are treated.
Hmm.
Now, the third is length of credit history.
Okay.
In other words, the older you are, you're typically going to have a higher score because you've got more history and more of their ability to evaluate uh, based
Yeah.
on your longevity.
Right. We talked about that a little bit last time when we talked about authorized users. That's something that could help somebody because say
Correct.
if it's their dad or whatever, they have a longer history.
Right. Or
So
let's say
that's not.
you've got a credit card that's 35 years old yourself. You're
Right.
older, typically,
Hmm.
and your score will reflect more positively. So if you were to ever, and I just read an article and I'm writing an article on what credit cards, this person had 15 credit cards and she wants to reduce it down to 5. Which ones do I choose? Number one, never choose the oldest one because that has more history. And if it's got more history, it's going to affect you more than
Right.
if you had one you started a year ago. So you typically would want to uh, close out the newest ones first because that's
Okay.
not going to affect your history.
How much does the length of the credit history affect the score? You were giving me a percentage before. What do you think the percentage of length of credit history is?
It's 15% of your score.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Okay.
so we've had 35%, 30%, and 15%.
Right.
Okay.
Now we've also got what we call the credit mix.
Okay.
And this is where things get a bit convoluted in how people want to reestablish their credit and why my book that came out on credit scoring and how to reestablish yourself, how that works. Because for every credit revolving debt, you want an installment debt to balance it out. It needs to be a balance. You shouldn't, as in that case of that other woman we were just talking about, 15
Mhm.
credit cards in one installment. You're not going to get as good a score as if you had, let's say, 5 and 5, 5 credit, 5 revolving. And
Okay.
don't forget that if you get a HELOC, home equity line of credit, you're going, that is a revolving debt.
Right.
And what people can get into trouble there is, let's say, back in 2008, and I could see it happening in the near future here, is when they give you a $300,000, let's say you have a $300,000 loan and you've got $100,000 uh, balance left on it. In other words, your
Hmm.
mortgage has got $100,000 left, and you want, let's say, 75,000 in a HELOC or home equity line of credit, a loan against a house.
Hmm.
What happens then if they take that HELOC and basing it on a $300,000 home, in it the value of the home drops down to 225,000.
Right?
Now, without you doing anything, it's maxed out.
Right.
So that's kind of crazy.
That's a scary concept. I don't know how popular home equity lines of credit are.
From what I'm
They
reading
used to
right,
be everything.
I'm seeing a lot of it right now, especially when
Oh,
home values have gone up so much in the past 5 years. People
yeah.
are going into your homes and creating uh, I'm not going to call it a second mortgage, but it's a HELOC. It's a home equity line of credit based on your home's value.
Yeah. And it is a second mortgage. It's just like you said, it reflects as a revolving. But
Correct.
it's secured by your house. So if your value falls, what you're saying is if your value falls, then suddenly it looks like your line is maxed out.
Correct. And that happened a lot back in 2008, 2009, 10.
Yeah.
And the last one is new credit inquiries. Now, credit mix is 10%.
Okay, perfect.
New credit or inquiries are also 10%.
Okay.
And
Now
so
we're talking hard inquiries, not those soft ones we talked about last time,
correct.
right?
Anytime you
Okay.
apply for a home loan
Hmm. Or
or
credit
a
card.
credit card or
Hmm.
a car loan,
Got it.
it's going to affect your score. Now, does that mean then that if you're applying for a home loan at three different places, it's going down each time you do it? No, if it's done within a certain period of time. Typically, it's about 30 days.
Okay.
Follow me?
I do. That's good information. I didn't realize that.
Right. Now, on a,
The reason I didn't realize that is because as an underwriter, when I would look at credit reports, I always knew when someone was auto shopping because you know how you go into a dealer and they run it through like 5 or 6 different things trying to get you the best rate. Those would all show up.
right, right. Now, it's kind of a misnomer. They're not trying to get you the best rate. They're trying to get their best profit margin
Yeah,
on
you're right.
for
You're
the
right.
car company.
Yeah, I was trying to be
And that's
positive
why I
there.
always tell people go to your credit union first,
Absolutely. I'm with
because
you on
then you
that
can
one.
walk in there and say, okay, if you can beat this, I don't care who I pay, but if you can beat this, then go ahead.
Right?
But just know that the car dealer, that's where they're making some of their money now. It's not on the price of the home, it's on the financing.
Right. That's where they make the majority of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Credit cards are a different matter. Each and every time you apply for a credit card, you're going to get a score hit. And the problem with this is for Christmas, everybody's advertising, get our card, get our card, get our card. Just apply for a card and we'll give you a 10% discount.
Right.
Now, if you so each time you do that, you're going to lose. You could lose, and I've seen customers lose 60%. I'm sorry, 60 points based on the
Hmm.
amount of time they're applying for these credit cards. Now, if you apply for those credit cards through those companies, if you're accepted, Synchrony Bank is the one that handles most of them. And
Hmm.
if there are some thought that, what I'll do is I'll just get the credit card and then I'll call them up after a few months and I'll get the credit score or the interest rate lowered. We'll go in as well, just like any credit card, you can come up and say, you know what, I've been paying so well as a customer. Could you reduce my 30% down to 20% or 25%? They won't do it. They won't do it. Again, using Synchrony as an example, they get part of the money and the company gets part of the money. And that 30% is fixed. It's not adjustable.
Right.
But what you saved on the 20% of the purchase, you're going to lose tenfold on
Yeah.
those
It-
payments.
Exactly. If you're making monthly payments.
Right.
And that those inquiries, they account for, how much did you say? What
Eh,
percentage?
they say 3 to 5%.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry, 3 to 5 points per check.
Oh,
Right.
okay. That it can make your score move. But in general, the percentage that a new inquiries can affect your overall credit score. So we've had 35, 30, 15 for
Correct.
length of credit. The credit mix was 10, and this one is the inquiries
10,
10%.
10%.
That's huge.
It doesn't sound as much as compared to late payments, and it's not as much. However,
It's still pretty big.
it's
10% is
still
bigger
a
than
big
people think.
amount. And
Yeah.
surprisingly, when you restart your credit after a bankruptcy or you're new to the system and you're just starting out,
Mhm.
it's going to be everything because that's
So,
all you
so
have.
So when we're thinking about our credit score, we've just talked about what drives it. What do you think people get wrong of maybe their understanding of this credit score? What do people get wrong about this?
Hmm.
Misconceptions.
Um, they hear sometimes that carrying a balance helps you score.
I've heard that.
It's not true. Not true. Um, what are some of the others here? Income matters. Income does not matter in your credit score. Has no factor in it at all.
Okay.
Okay. Closing old cards improves your score. Nope.
Well, you just told us that because again, we're going now to longevity of
I'm
your
saying
credit.
nope by saying don't do that.
Yeah, don't do it. Exactly.
Medical collections don't count.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, they do.
they do.
They do if you're buying a house. They do depending upon the scoring system you use. Because on a mortgage, you're using FICO 2, 4, and 5 currently.
Exactly.
So when they say in the news, we fixed this problem, no, you didn't. Because no one's using the scoring system that you're purporting. And that's typically a FICO 9 now or FICO 10T. One late payment isn't a big deal. You know, I just made one. Yes. Yeah, it's a huge deal. And it's going to take you 7 years to overcome it, score
Wow.
wise.
Wow.
Okay. It's just about the three bureaus. No, it's not just about the three bureaus. You know, what's interesting, and we haven't seen how it's all going to wash out yet, but it's going to be coming pretty soon where we're going to have a mix. They're going to get rid of 2, 4, and 5, and they're going to institute this FICO 10T along with Vantage Score. And I predict a lot of conundrums. I predict a lot of problems with it because the scoring system, the models are totally different. And their emphasis that the importance of making your payments on time is number one for a FICO, and it's number three for Vantage Score. That's just
Now,
one example.
as a consumer, though, we don't really know which credit score these companies are using, and it gets confusing when we start talking about the 10T and the FICO and all that. I don't think people have any clue what everybody is using.
No, they don't, and I think that should be one of the questions that should be asked. I don't think, in fact, I know that who determines what scoring system they use is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are going to be the determining factors as to who the mortgage companies are using. And at some
Yeah,
point in the near future, the next year or two, they're going to convert everything over to those two models. So when that happens, things are going to change. And we don't know. They can promise you all they want, but they don't know how this is all going to wash out. What they're
got
trying
it.
to do is make credit more available to people that were considered uncreditworthy before. because in order to get a credit score for FICO, you need 6 months, minimum of 6 months, uh, uh, to get a score. With Vantage Score, you need only 1 month. Well,
Yeah.
how can you base a judgment on 1 month of credit scoring? You can't. I had a lot of problems with this whole thing, but
Yeah.
nonetheless,
No,
they're
I,
going to use what they use.
yeah, and that I think that's a little just people don't realize that there are different models. You've talked about it, and you talk about it in some of the articles I've read of yours,
Right.
and you talk about it in the Credit Geniuses. You're going to talk about your book real quick. The Credit Geniuses Financial Reinvention, a do-it-yourself guide, how to start or restart your financial life. I always want to
Right.
bring up that book because it's such a helpful tool. And
Well, thank you. That's why I wrote it.
yes,
Because everybody that is in the credit restoration or credit education space that just go out there and start up a credit card. Well, in actuality, the cheapest and the easiest way to do it is not by credit cards, is to go to your credit union and
hmm,
get one. And that's where that information comes in handy on that book. And also in
right,
that book, I put in two different areas. One's called the history of the credit report, and the other one is the history of the credit card. Because I think people need to know what's going on with the
hmm,
monitoring of what you're doing. And they follow you, track you, and advertise to you based on where you go, what you buy. And so we're
right.
being all being pigeonholed. But
So,
that's another
yeah, so
topic.
yeah, I mean, but that's the importance of your book. There's so much to understand and grasp. It's a large picture that most consumers don't understand. I love that we're doing this. And I love that we talked about the utilization today. That was a big question for me, and it came up right by talking about the credit score. So that makes me happy. I think that it's important people really understand utilization, and you've done a great job of explaining it. And I think it's also very important that we talk about one other thing
Okay.
and before we finish up today. And that is literally, I want to go back, and this is such an important topic. You've brought it up, you've written articles about it. What's the number one thing every single consumer needs to do today? It's pull a credit report.
I know that. I was pausing for effect.
Oh, that was
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's to pull your credit report through annualcreditreport.com. Please, please, please do it. There's so much fraud out there, not just by credit repair people, although that certainly happens. I'm talking about the amount of theft that's out there and people starting up. Um, there's this one thing that's going on now where you get a call and you answer hello, um, and the person on the other end says, "Yeah, I'm just processing your loan application, and I need some answers to some questions." Well, you think in your head, "No, I haven't done this. Have I applied?" Now the question becomes, is it fraud? Is it a mistypo on a telephone number? Now, I wrote an article just recently about this,
Yeah, I read it. It was a good one.
and is it somebody stealing that's stolen your identity and is applying for a loan, and someone's legitimately calling you? That's what you need to look at. And you need to look at your credit report to see if there are anything on there that's inappropriate, wrong, simply wrong, for a variety of reasons. Either wrong, you didn't have lates, so they've processed wrong, but also to find out who's checking on your credit, both as a hard pull, what we call the hard pull, meaning you've applied for credit, or the
Hmm.
soft pull, meaning who's checking up on you. Okay,
Right.
maybe there's something in your past that they're lurking, not like an underwriter lurked. lurks. Eh, But as a debt collector might be looking, maybe you've got
Right.
no debts, but maybe someone's lurking. Well, why are they lurking? Let's be aware of this. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but there's so much fraud out there that how do you keep track of this? Well, the law says you can pull it once a year, but
Right.
because of COVID, and it happened right after COVID, the credit bureaus have decided that they're going to do it. Now, it's not by law, so it's only by policy. So the policies can change. But currently, it's once a week you can pull it. I don't recommend once a week. I just recommend once a month. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
What is that website again?
Annualcreditreport.com.
Excellent. So that is your assignment today, everybody. That's what we want to really impress on you today. I really appreciate the conversation, John. I think that the consumers really, this is valuable information for consumers, for our audience. And I want to invite our audience to, one, check out the Substack. John Mackey's Substack is just filled with information, great topics, at a level that you can truly understand and use this information in your daily lives. I also have a Substack, which is obviously about mortgage underwriting, since that's my specialty. But John, this has been very, very helpful. Is there any last thing you want to say to our audience?
Get your credit report. That's um,
So important.
and if you don't know how to evaluate it, I'm going to have some instruction as to how to do it. If you trust me enough, you could send it to me. I'm not going to tell you how now, but you could just send a note through Substack
Yeah,
and say,
message
"Hey,
you directly.
I'd like you to evaluate my credit report." I'll do it. Um,
That's awesome. That's a great offer.
you know, we haven't even talked about this subject, and that is the destruction, for the lack of a better word, of the CFPB and
Mhm.
who's looking after us now as the consumer. And there's really very little.
Yeah, it's
Um,
falling apart as we speak.
so, not to say that I'm as good as the CFPB because I've got no authority. I can only help you as an individual. Um, so I open the door for that.
Yeah, and along those exact same lines, if you have any other questions or scenarios you want to go over, you can drop us a line, drop us questions. We are both adamant about answering any questions that come across our Substacks. You can DM directly. That's direct messaging through Substack. Also, you can find our emails there. So feel free to reach out. We want to answer your questions. That's why we do this. That's why we're here.
Right.
And we're going to continue to be here. And again, John, I want to thank you for today. This was very valuable information.
Well, thank you
Keep,
for having me. And remember, folks, stand tall.
that's right. Don't give up. Fight the good fight.